Well, hello everyone. My name is Denise Farrell. I'm so excited to be here. And of course, I'm here again with none other than Cathy Carroll, owner
Woo!
of Payroll Vault. Woo! She's like, woo!
Woo! I know. I'm trying to get centered to the screen here.
And she probably is going, woohoo, because she's always coming to show us ways how we can make more money as business owners and how we can keep more money, or everyone else, how you can get more money. So we're always here to create value, and our goal is to give the impression of increase with whatever we do. So let me tell you a little bit about how we met. We met at a Chamber of Commerce event, absolutely connected. Then COVID started, and I didn't think we'd ever meet again because I thought it was it. But then I became curious about what she did, and the rest is history. What I love about her, woman of integrity, funny. Yeah, she's very funny, kind. What she likes about herself is that she's never met a stranger. Okay. She's super organized and she likes to smile. Right. What I'm going to have her come on just for a second and talk about, what exactly is Payroll Vault and how it can help you. So why don't you go ahead, Cathy, and introduce yourself and tell us.
Hello, everybody. Payroll Vault, we own a franchise. Payroll Vault is the only payroll franchise in the country, I think in the whole world. And the really great thing about having a payroll company like Payroll Vault is that we're a small, locally owned company. But because we have over 60 offices throughout the country, we have the capacity of a big firm. So we use super top-notch software. We have fabulous insurance. And I've got 60 offices if I have questions. I had an office in New Orleans reached out to me this week because they were onboarding a company that had an employee that lived in Pennsylvania. So she called me for some advice, easy Pennsylvania local taxes. But I know that if that happens to me and I have a client who has an employee who works outside the area, I've got a resource to go to too. So it's really the best of both worlds. We answer the phone. My husband and I own the business where we haven't had to hire anybody yet. We're getting to the point that we will. And they'll, if we don't get, I had a new client, prospective client call the other day, and he said, I reached out to ADP first because I used to have a business with them. And he had to call 3 different people and nobody called him back. So that's not the kind of thing that happens with us. I can, and advice is free. I've had clients that have called up and said, hey, my friend has a question about this. And, I answered the question for him. So we're both in BNI, and we're both really believers in the giver's gain kind of philosophy of BNI. And that's what we do. And we help people get their payroll straight, pay their taxes, and save money while they do it.
Awesome. I was actually right here just trying to share you with some other groups because I know what you're going to say tonight is good. And that nobody called that person back from ADP.
I know.
That is crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh my God. So, you always want to make sure you call.
You got such a runaround. But we don't. Well, and let's face it, the big payroll companies are like Amazon and Google. They don't care about the little guys. So would you rather give your business to a local organization that knows you and cares about you and volunteers in your community and donates in your community, or would you rather give it to ADP and paychecks that don't even call you back? So, and there's a number of small local firms that are really good in the area, but we're the only franchise, and you get Cathy and Ed. So there you go.
And that's one thing I'd love for people to really grasp from what we're doing. It's like in this new economy, it's good for everyone to just help each other out. Absolutely. Because as you're helping each other out, you're actually helping out yourself. Mm-hmm. Your money is not leaving the community. Those business owners are going to keep that money within the community, pay their taxes in the community, buy their groceries in the community. So it's all going back to us and for us to have the best schools and services.
Absolutely.
Awesome. But you know what? I digress. Let's talk about what we hear about. And it's, some more free money from the government. And I think this one is geared towards business. So Cathy, why don't you explain to everyone what this is about?
Yeah, sure. So everybody, last year, everybody in the federal government passed bills like their pants are on fire, and they got a lot of stimulus money out to us. And say what you want, it really helped people keep moving. Excuse me, my
It did.
And one of the things that was popular, was publicized, was the PPP loans. And everybody understood those. I can get 2.5 months worth of salary back on a loan through a bank. And if I spend it all on payroll, then it's forgiven. And everybody understood that. Well, also part of that is, the other part of that whole stimulus package was the employee retention tax credit. The caveat last year was you couldn't take the employee retention tax credit if you got a PPP loan. So consequently, it was kind of the very, very stepchild of the whole stimulus package. In December, when the American Rescue Plan was passed, I think that's the name of it. There were a couple of different things. So the December package changed it. Got a PPP loan. You were also still eligible for the employee retention tax credit. Now, if you have not applied and you're still eligible, we can still go back and apply that for you. However, the IRS is like 6 months behind. So it'll take a while to get your money, but you'll get it eventually. So for 2020, you could take, if you had a decrease of 50% or more for a quarter, which was not hard in 2020, let's face it, you were eligible to get a 50% of your employees' wages up to $10,000 as a tax credit. So if you had 5 employees, they all made at least $10,000 for the quarter, you could get $25,000 back. Caveat was you couldn't use the same funds that you used for your PPP loan, which again wasn't hard. Most people used the PPP loan in Q2 because that's when they were shut down or partially shut down, or nobody came to their place of business because they were shut down. So then for 2021, huge change. The criteria was changed so that you only had to have a 20% decrease in your quarterly revenue relative to 2019, not 2020, because the assumption is everybody's business in 2020 was down. Although, ironically, some people had fabulous years last year. So let's say I'm trying to think of one of the guys that I had a Pilates studio that took it for Q1. So she was affected by the government shutdown, which is also one of the criteria that you could use. And so she's a sole proprietor, doesn't have any employees. All her Pilates instructors are 1099 contractors, but she was eligible to take it for herself, and she got $7,000 back. And I told her about it. I was like, you're eligible. Let's do it. Okay, she's fine. And then she got the check from the IRS, and she called me and she said, what am I supposed to do with this? And I said, whatever you want. It's, you can use it for whatever you want, because it's a credit. It's your reward. Your business opened, basically, is what happened. So now for this year, anybody who is still experiencing 20% decrease for relative to 2019 is eligible to take that credit. It's easy to take. You want to the people have to be on payroll, though. You can't take it against your 1099 contractors. They have to be employees that you're paying medical, Medicare, and Social Security taxes on. So once you've established that, how do you take the credit? Well, the easiest way is when your payroll company or your accountant files your 941 quarterly report, which is it's basically a mini tax return, your quarterly tax return. Think of it that way. And there's lines in there that you said, hey, I'm going to take the credit. This is how much it is, blah, 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 blah. And you say, I want a refund. And that comes pretty quick because that's all done electronically and nobody has to touch it. If the IRS is touching paper right now, it's taken a while, but electronic stuff's going pretty quickly.
I had a question for you before you moved on. I just wanted some clarification. So you talked about the woman who owned a Pilates studio. She was a sole proprietor, and she was able to get access to this new American Rescue Act.
Employee retention tax credit. Yep, because she pays herself a payroll. So she's a sole proprietor. She's a LLC as that is filing as an S corp. So she's actually required to pay herself payroll rather than just distributions. And so she was able to take this tax credit. So that's kind of the difference. And and she really actually probably would have benefited that more so if some of her employees were not 1099 contractors, but if she had them as employees, because then she could have gotten the PPP loans for them, and she could get this employee retention tax credit for each employee also. So there's definitely some benefits. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about too. A lot of people say, oh, I'll just have, the people that are working for me be 1099 contractors. And in some cases that is the appropriate thing to do. The people work whenever they want. They can refuse, hey, listen, I can't work this weekend. You give them a project and they can do it whenever they want. That's an appropriate use of a 1099 contractor. But when people are telling their contractors, this is when I need you to work, and really controlling what they do, when they do it, and how they do it, then those actually should be employees. That's kind of the differentiator. And everybody will save money by just making them this and that. That's not necessarily true. This year you lost out on a lot of stuff. You lost out on the PPP loans. Losing out on the employee retention tax credit. And at some point, the government's going to come and say, you know what? No, those people are all employees. So there's definitely a shift, at least in the payroll world, in looking at how people code their their contractors as in contractors instead of 1099s. So I did want to mention that too, because it's worth a discussion if your people are really employees, not 1099s.
Okay, that's good. And I like the differentiation between the 1099 worker versus the employee, because the 1099 worker, of course, will be more independent. You don't have to put have so much hands-on work with them, that you give them a task and they get it done and they get paid. But if you have to be, kind of like working with another person every day and monitoring everything they do, then they probably should be a regular employee.
Yeah. So, one of the other things about this American Rescue Plan that's really great, and this is really kind of what I want, what my gospel I'm preaching, because I've always had some kind of stimulus plan I've been preaching for the last year, is that part of the American Rescue Plan is the startup business tax credits. So sub-TC is kind of what I nicknamed it tonight when I wrote it down. It's like, oh, this is sub-TC, startup business tax credit. So how does that work? So if you had the guts to start your business after February 15th of 2020, so anytime up till today, for the third and fourth quarter of this year, you're eligible to take the employee retention tax credit, even though you don't have because you don't have historical data against 2019, so you're not eligible the normal way. But you are eligible because you started your business after February 15th. So I have a client who's a painter. He started his LLC. I think he started it in the fall of last year. He's now up to 10 employees. And he pays these, and they've been busy. And they've been paying the employees a lot of, probably close to $10,000 a quarter. Well, he's going to be able to get up, you can only get up to $50,000 in credit for it. But he'll probably get $50,000 back at the end of the quarter in tax credits.
That's pretty good.
From this bill. So simple, and it's so easy. And all you need to do is have started a business. So I really want to try, and there's a lot of people that have started businesses during the pandemic. A lot of, let's face it, everybody kind of reevaluated how they spent their life, and if you were in one of the jobs where you were away from home a lot, and you was just totally stressed, and you got home and you had a couple months to chill out and relax. Although I don't know, staying home with the kids and homeschooling was really chilling out and relaxing, but it was a different kind of stress. And, people reevaluated and like, I don't want to do what I was doing before. I want to do something new. And people are finding their passions. And a lot of that involves small businesses starting new businesses. So, and the government recognizes that and they want to support that. And they want to, they want to encourage us because small businesses are really the backbone of the country. If you drive down, out here in the main line, you drive down Lancaster Avenue and you see all the shuttered windows. It's like, oh man, this is not good. So this is a great way for a small business who's, maybe just inching it, just getting by to get some working capital, and you can do whatever you want with the money when you get it back. But a lot of business owners will say, hey, this is my opportunity to buy better equipment, to maybe, hire 2 more employees. But it's all, the thought is it'll all go back into the economy.
So if somebody wanted to apply for that, where would they go?
You don't have to apply for it. You have to, you talk to whoever does your quarterly reporting, your payroll company is the easiest source. So I have, 7 or 8, I'd have to look again, new businesses that'll be eligible for it this quarter. And some of them don't even know about it yet. I haven't called them up and said, hey, the good news is you're going to get a lot of money back at the end of this quarter. So if you hire somebody else, you're going to get the money back. But there's no bank. You don't have to go through the SBA. Yeah, I know. It's like simple. It's just so simple. Or you call me and I help you calculate it and figure it out. There is a way to say at the beginning of the quarter, hey, I'm going to take this credit and you can hold back your payments during the course of the quarter and and let the IRS know, listen, this is my intention. So you don't have to, so rather than get a lump of money at the back, you just don't have to pay it as you go through. Which also may help some people say, okay, wait, I could hire 1 or 2 more guys because the savings in the tax credit will pay for their salaries. Because effectively, if you're hiring somebody and you're going to get 70% of their wages back, it's not costing you. You're still going to have to pay the other taxes. So, effectively, maybe it's only costing you 50% of what it would have if you had without this credit.
That's a nice boost from the government. I have some other questions for you. So let's see here. Okay, so how does a new business owner know when it's time to outsource their payroll process? Because maybe they don't have someone who does their payroll for them and they wouldn't even know that this is a service they need.
Right. And you know what, we started a new business and there's a point where you've got more time and you've got this much money. And then all of a sudden, revenue increases and you get to this point and all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, I need some more time. What can I put off my plate? And having someone else do your payroll is really just a logical thing to outsource. Number one, especially in Pennsylvania, the tax complexities are crazy. I mean, because you're paying, your federal's easy, your Social Security, your Medicare, your federal income tax. So if you're doing your own payroll, you got to write 1 check to the government at the end depending on your end of the quarter, at the end of the month, depending on the size of your company. Then you have to write a check to the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue for your withholding tax. Then you have to write a check to the Pennsylvania Department of Unemployment for the unemployment tax.
Wow.
Then you have to write a check to Keystone because one of your employees lives in X, Y, and Z township that uses Keystone. But you've got another employee that lives in Lancaster County, so you got to write a check to Lancaster County. And then you've got another employee that lives in a municipality that uses Werkheimer. So it's nuts. I have a client with 5 employees. Now, one of them lives in Connecticut and one of them lives in New Jersey, and the 3 in Pennsylvania all live in different things. It's like hours to just get them all organized. Pennsylvania is a Commonwealth. So this is one of the few states in the country that has townships have the ability to put taxes on earnings and It's called earned income tax and local services tax. So that's what makes it kind of unique and not in a good way in Pennsylvania. So that, and then what happens if you make a mistake? You know, the penalty if you miss a Pennsylvania unemployment filing, even if you owe $10, the penalty is $125. It's crazy.
What?
So I mean, yeah, penalty is $125 a quarter, capped at $450. They'll you know, after $450 they'll say, okay, that's enough. But the penalties are nuts, and you know, depending on the number of employees, you can pay $30 a payroll run. You know, I think people underestimate how cost effective it is to use a payroll provider. So that's that. When you get to the point where you're like, this is just too much and it's too confusing. I just onboarded a client this week. I've been working with her, and she's been doing payroll for them, and there were a couple of mistakes she's made, and they're now have to go back and figure it out. It's nothing. They actually overpay taxes instead of underpaid.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And it wasn't a lot, but she wrote me an email, and she wrote "so" with like 14 zeros afterwards. So happy you're taking this over for me, because it's involved, and if you don't have if you don't have the payroll software to do it, then it becomes hard. And speaking of that, you know, a lot of people are using Gusto and some of the other online platforms, which is great. But if you have a question, there's nobody to ask. And there's nobody to say, hey, have you thought about the employee retention credit? Or, hey, you know, what about doing this? Or what about doing that? Or nobody to say, did you know that the minimum wage raised to $12 in New Jersey? Or did you know that the Pennsylvania or the Philadelphia income wage tax decreased a little bit at the beginning of Q1 July? But that's not going to happen with some of those kind of things.
So basically, you're like, you go above and beyond because you have your clients' best interest at heart. You're telling them, you're not only helping them to save money, but you're also showing them little loopholes that can help them to generate more money. Because business owners, especially small business owners, they take the brunt of a lot of things.
Oh, yeah,
when things change. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Well, and I always say to a small business owner, you know, I think when you first start out, there's so much to do, and you don't have the money to outsource it. So you're like, okay, I'm doing this, and this. And I always say to them, you know, how much time are you spending on payroll in the course of a month? You know, say you pay every other week. Oh, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours maybe during the course of a month. I said, what if you took those 7 hours and spent that time actively marketing your company on social media? What would be the return on your investment? Thousands of dollars worth of business. And you could pay me $60, $70, $80 to do your payroll. So you got to go, what's the return on your investment? Because face it, small business owners, they don't value their time appropriately. If they had to do what if they had to pay somebody to do what they do, how much would it cost? $100 an hour? You're running a business. So effectively, if you're spending $600 or $700, 6 or 7 hours doing payroll, you're spending $600 or $700 a month on payroll. So
wow.
It's one way to really look at what, you know, it's definitely something that's worth to outsource.
Oh, wow. All right. So now my next question for you is, all right, let's say that person is thinking about a service like yours. How many employees you need to have to hire someone to do payroll?
Well, you know, I guess it depends on the complexity of where you live too. I mean, if you live in Philadelphia County and it's just both of you live in Philadelphia County, so you're not paying any of these local taxes, you might be okay. But once you get employees in different municipalities, that's when it gets complicated. And that's when it's like, you know what, this is too much to handle on a quarterly basis and to worry about it. But I probably have a dozen clients that they're sole proprietors. whether they're a realtor, a hairdresser in one of the salon loft kind of businesses. I just picked up a lawyer. I've got a psychiatrist. I've got one of everything on my client list right now. But they, or maybe they had their accountant doing it. And trust me, a payroll company is cheaper than an accountant to do your payroll. Sorry, CPAs, friends, but yeah, it's true. And they don't really want to do payroll because they like doing the fun stuff. And to them, payroll's, just mundane, but they like the interesting stuff. So, really, any time's a good time to outsource it. I mean, we've got, for the sole proprietors, for one person, it's like $25 a payroll run. It's, and it's if they're on salary particularly, but that's so worth it when you don't have to worry about paying the taxes on a timely basis. I can't hear you.
How many employees do you think you would need? Like maybe 2, 3?
Yeah, 2 or 3 would be great. I mean, we've got, let's see, I just onboarded a paving company. They have 4. Got a roofing company. They've got about 15. I've got a car repair shop. They've got 5, 6, I guess now. I've got a guy that details cars, and he just pays his one employee. But he doesn't want to hassle with doing it himself. So, it just comes down to that benefit of time versus money. And how do you want to spend your time? Because trust me, nobody started a small business because they wanted to do payroll, except for me, because I'm a payroll company. But if you opened a flower shop or you opened a yoga studio, I mean, you don't want to hassle with payroll. You want to make flowers or have yoga classes. But so you gotta follow your heart and let somebody else do the stuff that just isn't fun.
Yeah, because then you would have, if you did it as a small business owner, you have to calculate Social Security, you have to calculate state taxes, you have to calculate health insurance, who gets what. Yeah, I mean, that already is making my head hurt.
Well, and the other thing too about those small businesses, we've got a circle of referral partners. So I have one client whose business is just about to explode, and he's came to me and he had an idea and he had to start, but I referred him to a business insurance guy, I referred him to a lawyer, I referred him to an accountant, I referred him to a website designer. I mean, all these different things that a small business owner needs. As a fellow small business owner, you have that circle of people that you like and you trust that will take good care of them. Because as a small business owner, you've never hired a website designer before. You've never hired a business attorney before. I've got a fabulous business attorney, by the way. And so that's the other thing that in dealing with that. I've got a fellow that can help you with health insurance. I got a fellow helping with your 401k. So all these different spheres of help are really what a small payroll company can do to help a small business owner.
You know what? And I'm thinking about it. And I don't think it's just a small payroll company. I think it's you, because not everyone, will tell everyone, I know someone who can help you with that. You're doing the above and beyond to help your customers to save them time, to make them feel important, but also to give back value to them, which is really good. A lot of businesses could take a tip or 2 from you. That's outstanding.
Well, one of my colleague referral partners has now become a friend. She actually wrote a book, Smooth Sailing, and it's what legally what a small business owner needs. And it's written in very plain English, not a bunch of legal jargon. And I actually bought a couple dozen copies so that as I have new clients, I can give it to them, because it's just got some really great tips. Because again, as a small business owner, like if you're buying a franchise, you've got a big legal document you have to sign, and it's got all this bells and whistles in it. But if you're just opening your own little business, you don't know, like, wait, I really need this kind of insurance. I really need an umbrella policy in case something happens. I really, did you file all the stuff with the state? But you don't know that. So that's why those referral partners and, hooking you up with people that can really help you in some ways protect your business, along with helping you grow the business, and in some cases helping you sleep at night too. So that's good.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Some more questions for you. What if, I think we kind of answered already, what if all your employees were 1099 contractors?
Yeah.
What is the benefit of having employees versus 1099 contractors?
Well, when you have an employee, you can control what they do and how they do it. So if you have a situation where you want your ice cream scooped exactly the right way every time, or your toppings on your sundae exactly, those are the kind of things as an employer you can determine, you can regulate, you can enforce. But if you have a 1099 and you said, okay, I need you to go paint the house, they're going to paint the house the way they want to paint the house, because they're not really responsible to you. I mean, and again, hopefully they're going to do a good job, and that's why you hire them. But that's kind of the difference. But then from these government programs, they're geared towards companies keeping employees, and every week the unemployment rate comes out, how many people were new hired, how many new applications for unemployment. I mean, those are all the things the government tracks, and that goes to the point of the growth of the economy. Whereas all these 1099 contractors are really, they're kind of the underground economy of the America. I think, when Uber and Lyft, they're at their height. I'm sure they're coming back now, but there was a lot of money floating around in the underground economy from Uber and Lyft. Now, granted, they'll be reflected as a 1099 contractor, but the government's not. You weren't, at least up front, paying Medicare and Social Security taxes on it. And those are the two things that are, important, that because a lot of people depend on Medicare, depend on Social Security. And it's, if those two programs were to collapse, that would certainly change the way anybody over 65 lived. And so that's kind of how does the government wants people to be employees so that they can fund those ongoing, very, very important government programs, spoken from a person who's not that far from 65. But so we want to keep those two programs there. But that's, and again, as an employer, you've got control of what the person is doing. If they're an employee, you don't necessarily have that if they're a contractor.
And there's so many people out there who are looking for jobs now. So it benefits that employer to just hire more people, to seek more people and hire more people, because you're going to get these tax credits that can boost your business.
Well, and you know what, Denise, I've been on networking calls, and usually people will say, hey, I'm looking for somebody that needs their roof repaired. I'm looking for somebody that wants to redo their kitchen. People are saying, I'm looking for somebody that wants to work. And, it's gotten somewhat better. But again, it goes to the point that people really reevaluated how they were living their life during COVID. And, maybe both the husband and wife were working their tails off, and the kids were at school and then at daycare. And, the wife said, you know what, I don't want to miss my kids anymore. I want to stay home. Mm-hmm. So there's been some people that have fallen out of the workforce. And I think we're seeing that throughout things. We were at restaurant at lunch yesterday. Where'd we go yesterday? Oh, we went to lunch yesterday, and it was packed. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's the summertime. People will go out and, maybe take staycations. But literally on the sign on the door said, please be patient. We're short-staffed, because they can't hire enough people, because whether they're still on unemployment, these expanded unemployment benefits are attractive for them to stay home, or they've reevaluated, or maybe they're still afraid of getting COVID and they aren't vaccinated and they don't want to get vaccinated. And they're like, you know what, I'm going to wait it out. But I think the bigger issue is people getting enough people to work. I think there's plenty of people out there that want to hire. And it's not just in entry-level jobs. It's all over the place. It's engineers, it's architects, it's interior designers, it's people that work for the government. But it's we're not. We're one of the few countries in the world right now that we're open and we're not wearing masks and we're going about our business and life feels happy and we're back to normal. But the rest of the world isn't like this. And so we're not out of the woods, but we're fortunate that we're at least seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here in America.
We just got to get some people into some jobs.
Yeah, we just need people. Yeah, because there's plenty. Oh my gosh, there's so many jobs out there, and there's lots of. I mean, I can hook people up with headhunters and recruiters and temp agencies and. You just have to know where to look, or even be willing to put in the time to look to find a job, because they're out there right now.
Yeah, and I'm thinking the employee probably at this stage in the game would even have more of a leg up, because they could kind of negotiate their rate a little bit better than before.
Well, and then there was an article in Forbes recently too about we've had the Great Recession, the Great Depression. They're calling it the Great Resignation. Because there's so many opportunities out there now that if people maybe stayed in their current job because, they weren't happy, they didn't really like it, but there wasn't anything else out there. Now there's so many jobs out there that if you were thinking about bolting, you're going to bolt. So it's now become the Great Resignation. And I think, it's there'll be so many books written about this last 18 months that in the future that probably already being written right now, that it's just been such a unusually traumatic, but some ways really propelled us forward as a nation. The ability of the government to move so quickly this past year, when usually they're just like taking forever. And the technology advances. Who knew Zoom is now like, a common, like it's just a common word out there. Everybody knows what Zoom is. And so those kind of changes. But on the flip side, there were so many people that died and so many people that were affected by it, and it affected long term too. So
yeah,
it's, it's been a terrible year, and from a personal point of view for a lot of people, but from a global affairs move the world forward. It's been very interesting.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of changes too, and I basically communicate with people around the world, different people who are in different parts of the world, and everyone is, excited, but also, they look back and they're like, this is all that happened, but they're looking forward to the future and the good that can come out of this. Because, I think one of the writers say there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. I think it's Thomas Troward, but so
yeah. Well, and I think the FDA, I mean, just in terms of just the drugs, the FDA, fast-tracked these vaccines, and why can't we fast-track that drug that's on trial for Alzheimer's? Why can't we fast-track these other drugs? I mean, like, face it, some of these drugs are for people that are terminal, are going to die eventually anyway. So, like, what's the choice? Let's just get the drugs out there and give it a shot. So there's just a lot of different things that have come out that hopefully will move our communities forward.
Yeah, and you know what? It seems like the world has gotten such a smaller place. Before COVID, it was just your hometown or your state. now with Zoom, you're talking to people in other parts of the world, and suddenly it's like, it's a whole different ball game. So
I have a brother that lives in Nairobi, and call him up and it's like he's next door, and he's halfway around the world. So
where does he live?
Nairobi in Kenya, in Africa.
Yeah.
So
I know what you mean.
It's crazy. The technologies, and it's via satellite. It's just amazing. So
yeah, I know what you mean. All right, let's keep on. Let's keep going. Let's see. That was arousing. I love that kind of conversation.
We got a little off topic. Sorry, everybody.
Let's see here. Tell me about this. I know repetition is always good, because sometimes I miss things, or maybe if I hear it again, I feel empowered or something clicks. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about the startup business tax credit that is available for the third and fourth quarter of 2021. And I heard that businesses have to have been started after February 15, 2021.
No, 2020.
2020, sorry. Yeah.
February 15th of 2020. So anybody that was crazy enough to start a business mid-COVID, or I don't want to say crazy, that's not the right word. Brave.
Adventurous enough, risky enough. They wanted a quantum leap.
Yeah. Listen, there were some businesses that, took off. I mean, if I was thinking about becoming a contractor, I would have gone for it because everybody wanted their home redone. But so the best way to take advantage of that would be to, number one, if you have a payroll company, talk to your payroll company to say, hey, listen, how can I take advantage of it? Whether you want to get a credit at the end of the quarter, or if there's a way to postpone payment of your taxes because you're going to get the credit. If you don't have a payroll company, you should talk to your accountant. The accountants have been somewhat reluctant to get involved in the employee retention tax credit. Much of that came because a lot of it came to fruition when they were so busy with other parts of their business, whether it be tax season or first they had to get the reports for the PPP loan, then all the PPP loans had to be filed for forgiveness, so they were doing that. But your accountant should be able, at this point, it's past tax season, they've had a little bit of room to breathe, just a little bit. But the accountant whoever's doing your 941 should be the person you should talk to about how to take this credit. And again, you don't need to go to the bank, you don't need to get a SBA loan, you don't need to get approval. It's just, you started your business after February 15th, 2020, so you're eligible. And it's 70% of wages up to $10,000 per employee, up to $50,000 per company. It's serious money. You can go to payrollvault.com website. There's lots of great information about that. It's also on our website, which is payrollvault.com/164. And, reach out to me, Cathy Carroll at Payroll Vault Mainline. I'm also on LinkedIn. We have a Facebook page too. And I'll be happy to walk you through it and talk you through it and give you some guidance, because it's just really important for everybody to understand that, the government's given away a lot of money this year, a lot of money, and there's still money out there. And so if you are one of the businesses that qualifies for this money, you should be taking advantage of it. So that's the message we want to get out there, and we're happy to help anybody that's watching this across the country. We have Payroll Vault offices in many states now, not all states yet, but in many states, and there's plenty of them around that can help you, and we're all happy to help. A lot of nice people in the Payroll Vault franchise family.
Quick question. You said payrollvault.com and you gave some numbers. I want to make sure I put it on the screen so people can grab that.
Yeah, sure. So payrollvault.com is, you'll get, the corporate franchisor payroll thing. Our local web, payrollvault.com /164 is our number, I guess is the right word to put it.
Is that right?
Yep. That's our website. Yep.
Yeah. And you can always reach out to Cathy. She's an active part of our of Facebook, and her name is Cathy Carroll. You can look her up on Facebook. And also she's a part of our Living Life with Denise group. And you can also reach out to me if you have any questions about her, or just reach out to her.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say too is, while we're talking about free money, this isn't exactly free, but the SBA website, if you're a small business and you're just starting out and you're looking for funding or ideas on how to do things, the SBA website is terrific. And there's organizations, there's a spot on there where you can put in your zip code, and it'll give you contact information for resources in your area that can help you write a business plan, can help you apply for a loan, can help you. I mean, they can hook you up with somebody from SCORE, which will give you, somebody to sit down with and give you some advice of who they've been a business owner themselves. But there's, listen, you don't have to do it alone. And there's plenty of people that, we want, small businesses owners are a community that want each other to succeed. And the more we succeed, the more we all succeed. And so that's, there's lots of resources out there. So feel free to ask.
Awesome. Cathy, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. And from now on, I'm going to call you the money lady, because you always, you're always coming on to share with us how we can get money from the government, whether it be the PPE or the American Cares Act. You're the person to know, and I'm so excited.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Denise. You're lovely too. I really enjoyed talking to you, and appreciate the time to help people find that free money. So there we go.
Yeah, free money, and you must create value, people. When you get this money, you must make someone's life richer and better, because that way it will come back pressed down and multiplied. Guys, you guys are awesome. I love you all. I hope this created value for you, and I look forward to talking to you next week, as I have another person who's also out creating value for other people. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.